Okay, this is a review for a trade paperback I have called Batman in the 70s. This isn't one of the most famous Batman reprintings. Well, maybe it is. It's not talked about that much. But I found it on Amazon. I wanted to buy it because I wanted a few Dennis O'Neil, Neil Adams stories. And I also wanted to read the There's No Hope in Crime Alley. So that's why I bought it. But not all of this is Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil. Some of this is by other people, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm not sure if this would be an accurate representation of Batman in this. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm not sure if this is like the best of the 70s Batman stories, but that's okay. Like, I haven't read all the 70s Batman stories, but that's fine. This is just, is it like 7 issues? 10 maybe? Wait, let me count. There's, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so there's 10 stories. The first one is There's No Hope in Crime Alley. So I'm kind of gonna be doing this review by each story. Oh, this trade also has these cool like before the stories they put like kind of an introduction. Like, there's an introduction by Dennis O'Neil, but before the stories start, they show you like these 2 pages of text where they explain stuff about Batman in the 70s, like the writers, the artists, the villains, and all that. So that's pretty cool. There's No Hope in Crime Alley. This is said to be a very classic Batman stories from the 70s, written by Dennis O'Neil. I liked it. The art, I really liked the art. It's not by Neil Adams, but it's by this guy named Dick Giordano. I think he's just as good as Neil Adams. Well, I do like it as much as Neil Adams. I think this guy's a really good artist. He does a lot of work in this trade paperback. He does another story later on. But yeah, this is the first introduction of Leslie Tompkins. So it does show that there's no hope in Crime Alley because it's filled with crime, of course. Bunch of thugs. And Batman's looking for Leslie Tompkins to go to Crime Alley where his parents died. But here, Leslie doesn't know that he's Bruce Wayne. Maybe that was changed in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, or maybe she found out later. But this is a nice little story. It's not very long though. It's only 12 pages, but I enjoyed it. Some really cool classic Batman art. You know, with Batman with the yellow oval, with the blue suit. It's all cool. Next, we have this Batman story by Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams called The Vow from the Grave. There was an episode in Batman the Animated Series similar to this one, where it was a Killer Croc episode. And Killer Croc found his way to these circus people, and they befriended him, and he betrayed them, and then Batman had to, of course, come and save the day. And I really like that episode. That episode is called Sideshow. So anyway, this story is kind of similar to that. There's the circus people, but Killer Croc is not in this story. One of the circus people, I keep calling them circus people, that's how I'm going to refer to them. One of the circus people, Goliath, in the episode was just a good guy, but he wasn't too bright. But in this one, he's actually the killer. So, well, there are more than one in here, but he's the main guy behind the plot. I don't know. I find this one out of all the Dennis O'Neil written ones the hardest to read. Not because it's a bad story, but I don't know. Like, I think they could have chosen a better Batman Dennis O'Neil story from the 70s. Like, this one's okay. It's not bad, but it's not the greatest thing I've ever read. Well, maybe I'm being a little unfair. I don't expect these to be the greatest things I've ever read, but... And yes, it is a very, touching story about, family. Like, well, yeah, and so... I did like it. And it's not bad. But it's not my favorite in this book. Next we have another Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams story called Night of the Reaper. This one was pretty cool, actually. There's a bunch of guest appearances by a bunch of DC people and Marvel people. Well, they don't refer to them by name, but, and so there's this guy in a Reaper costume going around killing people. And Batman and Robin have to try to stop him before he kills more people. But there's also these other, are they Nazis? I'm not sure. It's not really clear who these people are. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. It's been a while since I've read these. But yeah, so they think they've solved the case. They think they stopped the Reaper. But at the end, Batman figures out that it's this doctor, and his family was butchered by the Nazis in Germany back in World War II. And the ending, I really like the ending where the Reaper's about to kill someone else, but then the Star of David, stops him at the last second, and he's at this dam, I think. He's at a very high place, and he sees the Star of David, and he stumbles back, and he falls to his death. It's pretty powerful stuff for the 70s. I really liked it. Next up is The Invader from Hell, where Benedict Arnold is brought back to the land of the living by Satan, and Batgirl and Robin have to stop him. This story is not as classic as the rest of them. Like, by classic I mean that it's not exactly anything you're gonna see nowadays. But it does have some really good art with Batgirl and Robin fighting a bunch of people. I like it. And the story is not so bad. It's just a little... I'm not sure if out of date is the most appropriate word, but it's kind of weird. Like, Satan and Benedict Arnold, it's kind of weird, but... And, Batgirl and Robin are just like, whatever, it was just Satan. No, not a big deal. But, oh well, it's an okay story. I like it. Like, none of these stories are bad, but I think that one of Batgirl and Robin may be one of the worst in this collection. Then we have a Neil Adams illustrated story called Marriage Impossible, where Man-Bat is on the loose, and he tries to get married, but then he turns his bride into a Man-Bat. Kind of like the episode Terror in the Sky, Batman the Animated Series, where Francine Langstrom turned into a Man-Bat. This story also isn't so great. It's kind of cheesy. Not really any deep themes or anything like that. But it's cool for showcasing some Neil Adams art. It's one of the stories I least read in this one, but it's an okay story. It's not. It's not horrible, but it's not great. It's an okay story. I just wish, like, these two stories, the Batman and the Batgirl and Robin and Man Bat one. These are, I think, the two weakest stories of this collection. Like Vow from the Grave, it's a good story. It's probably better than I made it sound like it was, but it's still not one of my favorites from this book. But anyway, next up is From Each Ending a Beginning: The Secret Origin of the Huntress, by Paul Levitt, Stowe Staten, and Bob Layton. So this one takes more advantage of the parallel universes, where this is Earth 2, where like Batman started his career the year it actually started in 1939, and he and Catwoman got married, and they gave birth to a daughter, Helena, and she becomes the Huntress after Catwoman is killed, and Bruce Wayne retires, so she becomes the Huntress and goes on a crusade for justice. This one's pretty cool. It's actually a pretty good story. My only problem with this one is that too little happens after Huntress. I mean, it's not entirely the issue's fault. Maybe they just didn't have enough pages. But all she does is, like, stop the... Like, it's not even, like, a big, giant, like an emotional ending. It ends a little too fast for me. But that's really my only problem with this one. The rest is pretty good, you know, like... It's really interesting how, like, Batman is older now. Like, he started his career in the 30s. So, that's really interesting. I also like that, you know, Catwoman was, like, forced back to being a criminal as she died. It was really good. So, let's see what's next. Ooh, next up is This One Will Kill You, Batman, by Denny O'Neil and Dick Giordano. I'm sorry. Giordano, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. This one is probably the most classic Batman story. This story has brought a lot of inspiration for modern stories, where the Joker poisons Batman with laughing gas, and he's slowly starting to like become more twisted. Like he starts seeing everything like a sick joke, like Joker does. So he has to get a cure before he laughs himself to death.